What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I am your host and producer, Logan Landers. Join me here today to talk about the big offensive lineman formerly of the Washington Redskins, Joe Jacoby. Help me out is, of course, my guy from the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network, Jay McLovin. Jay, how you doing, my friend? And let the people know about Joe Jacoby. What'd you learn about him today?
Yeah, Logan, it's good to be here. Joe Jacoby, obviously, he's an offensive tackle. He's 6'7", 295, Logan. And that's a big boy.
He didn't miss any meals.
Yeah, he didn't miss many meals. And obviously, he played for the Washington Redskins from 81 to 1993. And he won 3 Super Bowls with them. That would have been Super Bowl 17, 22, and then Super Bowl 26 to round it out. The guy was undrafted, just like Drew Pearson we talked about a minute ago being undrafted. Well, he was undrafted as well in 1981. And he went on to have a pretty good career. He was a 3-time first-team All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, 1980s All-Decade team, 170 games played with 148 games started and 1 touchdown, which, it's interesting to me for as much as he's done, and the fact that he was actually, believe it or not, he was a founding member of the Hogs offensive line. That's where he got that Hog name from, was during that time period. He was one of the best. He was part of one of the best offensive lines in NFL history, and he helped the Redskins rush for 276 yards in the Super Bowl, which is the most ever until they broke it again in Super Bowl 12 or Super Bowl 22. I'm sorry, Super Bowl 22. At 280 yards rushing. Now, Logan, this is a guy who is a member of one of the best offensive lines ever for the most rushing yards ever in a Super Bowl. And all these accolades, 1980s all-decade team and so forth, undrafted, but yet isn't in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I don't understand how this guy is not in the Hall of Fame. It's ridiculous to me. This guy actually set the mold for left tackle. They were not at his weight, and they certainly did not have his skill sets back in those days like they do now. And he is a trendsetter. He is the one that propelled it into the direction of the current offensive tackle that we have today. But yet he's not in the Hall of Fame. Completely asinine. Now you might say, "Well, Jay, come on, let me tell you something. This is how valuable this guy is. When he actually was out of the game, and they had his substitute in. Do you know that's when Joe Theismann suffered that leg injury that ultimately ended his career? Now, let that sit for a minute. Had he been in that game, Joe Theismann would have gone on to have a much longer NFL career than what he had. And I don't understand. With all of that, how is he not in the Hall of Fame, Logan? That blows my mind.
No, yeah, I am with you on that. And, of course, we got to mention it whenever we talk, Redskins football and their heyday. We got to mention this one for our guy, Daniel Kelly, over at FirstRoundMock.com. It's his favorite player, and John Riggins. We all know, Jay, that famous touchdown he had in the Super Bowl. I mean, this guy you see on the screen, if you're watching this, Facebook, YouTube, he was a big part of that. I don't mean that literally. I mean, he was a big part of that, despite his size.
Literally.
Yeah. And like I said, the fact that this guy had a chance to go in multiple times, even as recently as 2023, but still just couldn't crack it for whatever reason. It kind of bewilders me. And like you said, this is a guy who we're kind of shining light here this week on players who were undrafted. A guy who came out of Louisville. Undrafted out in 81 and then just really made a mark for himself and for how well he was. Like I say, he did great at Louisville as a co-captain on his senior year, 3-year letterman also, so he got it done. But no one wanted to take a shot on him for whatever reason it was. And, yeah, it doesn't make much sense as to why that they didn't let him. And, I mean, also there's a lot of guys on that offensive line you mentioned that didn't make it either. And you know how good you have to be to get names, like nicknames after how good you are?
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta put a little bit more respect on that, I feel. And it's just a shame that this guy was snubbed, once again, for whatever reason. And he's just a guy who Like you said, very physical. He's been eligible for many, many years. Like you said, and not to get super off topic in a sense, but Jay, do you think it has to do with the fact that they did change the name all those years ago? Do you think that might be a reason why they don't want to let him in? Because he wasn't quote unquote a Washington Commander. I mean, I don't, and like I said, we're not trying to get completely off the boat here, but yeah, I feel like that might have something to do with it, because obviously his play on the field dictated, I think, and you do also, and a lot of people I think around the world, Washington fans, they all say that this guy is good enough to be a Hall of Famer. So I mean, it just kind of leaves you scratching your head and coming up with solutions in your head that you think might be the reason. But end of the day, I mean, you know, Jay, if he does get in the Hall of Fame, tremendous. We're rooting for him. We're hoping he does. But if not, then, I mean, like I said in our previous video, we're here to educate on guys who might get lost to time. Guys like the Hogs offensive line, like Joe Jacoby, you see here on the screen, a very talented player. And, you know, and just because someone doesn't make the Hall of Fame doesn't mean that they were not a phenomenal athlete. And don't get that twisted. This guy, Joe Jacoby, as well as a plethora of other really good, talented players, just have not or just did not make the Hall of Fame. And you know, that's just how it goes sometimes, unfortunately. But, you know, I'm glad that we were able to talk about this guy today, Joe Jacoby, and kind of shine some light on him. And really just that entire O-line and how dominant Washington was. You know, like I got those couple of Super Bowls, as Jay mentioned. Because, like I said, we don't want to lose all these guys to time, man. We want to, you know, replicate that and preserve it, and just keep letting people know what we do out here and how good these teams were and these players were. So that's what we're here to do. But Jay, good work today, my friend. Awesome work. And guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Also, talking about Joe Jacoby, big offensive lineman coming from the Washington Redskins. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Guys,